bed of it and just, and so people are like, seatbelts, like, what? How can we have the wind blow through our hair? All right, now, let's see. As this is getting set up, I'm really excited to be here. First of all, I love Ireland. Martin, when I saw him, I've been here for a few months, I guess since August. And Martin came up to me and said, welcome home. And boy, does that really resonate strongly with me. My wife and kids are so sad that they cannot be here. They're all in absolute jealousy right now. And that I got to come back to Ireland. We talk about coming back all the time. In fact, I think my kids are expecting that Ireland becomes our summer home each year. I'm trying to tell them that there are other places in the world, but they just don't care. They'd rather do that. When I was over in the States, we were trying to get over here. We left from Salt Lake City with the intent to go to JFK in New York City. When we got to New York, there was a massive snowstorm, and in fact, one of the airplanes actually had slid off of the runway and almost went into the river. So they were like, we're going to go into a holding pattern. So we just circled New York for a good, I don't know, half hour or more. And then they realized they're going to run out of fuel, and they still couldn't land. So they said, sorry, we're going to have to land in Detroit. Now, for those of you who don't, I know that maybe to give you this idea of the scope of the U.S., that's like saying, after circling Dublin for a few hours, hey, we're going to go back to Amsterdam. So we flew an hour and a half or more, or an hour and 45 minutes to get to Detroit, landed, and then we sat on the plane. And they said, well, stay here because we're about to just take off. We'll go right back to JFK, and so stay on the plane. So we're all sitting there, and after a while, we're like, I cannot. I'm going to lose my mind. I got to get off of this plane. Well, finally, okay, go ahead and get off. So we got off, had something to eat, then lined up, came back on the plane, sat there for another 2 hours, and they said, sorry, JFK is still not open. Go ahead and get off. We'll be ready to go about 4 hours from now. So we left, and at this point, I get a message from Delta saying that our flight from JFK to Ireland has been canceled. And I'm going, there are people from all over Europe flying to Dublin. So at this point, we went into what we would describe as panic mode. Let's just say that Serenity became our friend, you know. Doing that. I know that they say one drop's enough, but it wasn't at that point. So we just started showering in Serenity, right? So I'm on the phone, and the person's like, sorry, there's nothing. I'm like, okay, if we get to JFK tomorrow, like tonight, because our plane flight's about to leave in 30 minutes to go to JFK. So I have to make a decision. Either we get on the plane and go to JFK and get to Ireland, or we leave from Detroit and find somewhere else in the world that somehow can get us there. Said, sorry, all the flights to Dublin are booked. Because the one flight canceled, so there's no availability. Again, I'm thinking of all of you, and I'm going, oh crap! I know for a fact that Willem Paul is coming here from the Netherlands. I gotta get here. So anyway, so what ended up happening is I just said, I don't care what you have to do, get us to Europe tonight. So they said, okay, from Detroit to Heathrow, and what happened was they said nothing will get into Dublin before Saturday afternoon. I'm like, I'm sorry, this isn't an option. And I'm like, Shannon, get me to Shannon. And therein was the secret. They said, okay, we can do that. So anyway, we ended up going to Heathrow, and then we somehow figured out a way to go to Dublin instead of Shannon. But anyways, I'm really glad to be here. That all worked out. We realized that after Rod and I figured out we had 31 hours of total travel time. And all of our luggage is still not here. And so this is a new shirt I just got from TK Maxx. Had to go buy a new pair of underwear, and feeling all snazzy. All right. Okay, so this is my wife Jenny. Isn't she just awesome? For those of you who haven't met her. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. We talk about our greater cause and higher purpose in life as a deep motivation for what it is that we do. I've gone around training this concept for years since I've been in doTERRA. But all of us coming to understand why we do it, And a lot of it has to do with our greater cause and higher purpose, why we were born. Just a while ago, Jenny, my wife, she sees me going out there and training all of this, and sometimes it can be difficult on a marriage. Let's just say that. With me being gone a lot, and what's really hard for her is that if I go and train, sometimes people will come up to me and they're like, okay, let me just give some advice to the women in the room. You have a tendency to say something. Guys will come up to me and they'll be like, dude, that was awesome, way to go. Women will come up to me and they'll go, I love you. My wife is right there. I love you. Thank you, I appreciate that. No, I'm serious. I love you. See this? That smile, it starts to go. Fists start to become clenched. And then they turn and they go, oh, who's this? This is my wife. Oh, you're Seth's wife? How would you like to always be known as your spouse's wife? Or, you know what I mean? Oh, you're Rosie's husband? Good to meet you. Anyway, so after a while, so every time I do it, from now on, I'm telling you right here, she is the better half. If anything that I do reaches you today, thank her, because she allows me to be here. She takes care of what I have. The other thing is that as a result of this, I came to an understanding, and so did she, that I sent her a text message the other day. I said, you are my greatest cause and highest purpose. And so as we talk about maybe some concepts today, just realize what the most important things are. No success can compensate for failure in the home. And so anyway, love my wife. She's awesome. She's why I'm here. By the way, she just had a surgery. So like just this week, and so her parents are taking care of her right now, but otherwise she would be here. So I'm sending you her love. She's an amazing person. Okay, how do I use this? All right, here we go. Now, we just saw this on that video a little while ago, but there was a man who hauled buckets. That was his job. His job every day was to haul buckets of water. He lived in a village. The village was 2 miles away from the nearest water source, and his job was to go and haul buckets each day. He provided the village with water. And since everybody needed water, he had perfect job security. Right? If he wanted to make more money, he just simply made more trips. If he wanted to go on vacation, he'd make a whole bunch of trips before the vacation, and then when he got home, he'd have to do more trips to pay for the vacation. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Okay? Then, after years of doing this, he realizes if I don't change something, I'm going to be hauling buckets my entire life. So, he started to create a pipeline. Now, what he did is he hauled buckets during the day to pay the bills. And in his spare time, he started to create a pipeline. You could say that he worked full-time on his job, but part-time on his fortune. Okay? After years of doing this, he finally finishes the pipeline, puts a spigot in the village, and people could come and get as much water as they want. And every time they did, they would pay him a little bit of money. And he was able to stop hauling buckets and go and pursue his greater cause and higher purpose in life. Now, we just saw how doTERRA literally builds pipelines in Haiti, right? We saw people that had to haul buckets of water on the donkey. It took them 3 hours to get water to them, and they had to boil the water to make it sanitary before they could even drink it. When doTERRA put that pipeline in, people didn't realize that it was a long-term solution. They lined up and were filling every container they could, and then when they finally dawned on them that the pipeline was staying, and that they would always be able to turn on water, could you imagine the joy of what happened when that became a reality? Now, let me tell you how I've seen this particular story play out. There was a man who lived in a village. His job was to haul buckets back and forth because they were 2 miles away. His wife got so sick and tired of being gone hauling buckets all the time, she went out and created a pipeline. That's what I see in doTERRA all the time. Let me tell you another thing I see. There was a man who hauled buckets. His wife got tired of it. She started creating a pipeline. About 75% of the way there, the husband finally realizes what she's doing. He hops on board and takes credit. I've seen that a lot too. Occasionally, I see a man like Rod Richardson who realized that essential oils were indeed manly, and enlisted me in building a pipeline from the beginning with doTERRA. There's some pretty awesome things about building a pipeline. Can I tell you one of the most inspiring ones I've seen though? There's a single mom, 2 kids. Somehow, while hauling buckets to pay the bills and trying to find time to spend time with the kids, in whatever little time she had remaining, made building a pipeline a priority. And during the pipeline building, came down with cancer, went into chemotherapy, and still hit platinum during chemotherapy. Now, how do you like your excuses now? When I saw her, she came up to me after a meeting. I did this. She came up, she's wearing a scarf over her head. She goes, I want you to know I'm the single mom you were talking about, but I'm going through cancer, and I'm becoming platinum. The chemotherapy actually had such a negative impact on her that she couldn't actually think well. Someone would send her a text, and she would talk to her sister, who was her Blue Diamond upline, and say, can you tell me what I should respond to her, because I can't put it together in my head. That, and she's still on platinum. I just... It's awesome, isn't it? And so anyway, this, by the way, all of us have to do this. Whether or not you understand it. In the United States, they have something called Social Security, which basically means that they take a portion of our paychecks that is supposedly going to be around when we retire. Supposedly. There's a big supposedly in that. And they're saying that it's going to go bankrupt. But the thing that's interesting is that that's an option. Some people work hauling buckets at their job forever, and then their pipeline strategy is a Social Security check, which is around $1,200 a month or something like that, which is just not enough to live on. Or they have some sort of pensions or retirement system where they while they're going to work, they invest a little bit of their paycheck every month over a 40 to 50 year period of time, so that when they actually retire, they can get. Is this same thing here? Yeah. You have a similar thing, right? Everybody has to create a pipeline. You can create a pipeline, and it can take your entire life if you want, or you can create a pipeline in a few years, and it's completely up to you. The other thing I think is important is that most people create pipelines with the retirement idea in mind, because they realize that at some point they will be too old to haul buckets any longer. And so when their body can no longer haul buckets, they had better have a pipeline in place. That is a noble motivation for building a pipeline, but I want to introduce to you a different way to look at it. There's a choice. I do not believe that we were born on this earth to haul buckets until we're dead, or until we're too old to make a difference, or until we no longer have the health to enjoy the retirement that we had. I don't think that's the purpose of life. I don't think it's what we're supposed to do, but society has conditioned us over time to think that that is a responsible, get your head out of the clouds way of thinking. I'm telling you that's not the way we're designed to live. So let me just give you an example. Let's say, what if on the 15th of the month, that's the day that doTERRA pays us, on the 15th of the month you received a paycheck. And if this paycheck came in regardless, you could work all month, and you're going to get the 15%. You're going to get the check on the 15th, or you could go on vacation or holiday. As they say, you can go on holiday for a month and still get the paycheck. What would happen to your life if 5,000 euros hit your account on the 15th every month, no matter what? 15, 5,000, 5,000. What would you do? How would it change your life? How would it impact what you do? If that were a reality, what would you do? You don't have to answer the question. Just think about it. You know where the money goes? Is it already spent? Okay, so let's say that on the 15th you received 10,000. Every month, 10,000 euro. Every 15th. What would you do? Where would the money go? How would it impact your life? Your kids, their kids. Okay, let's say it's 25. We get 25,000 euro. What would you do if that were a reality for you? If that kind of pipeline was in place today, what would you do? What if it was 50,000 euro every month? Just starting to get a little foggy with what you would do with that money. Right? So 5,000 is pretty clear, right? 10,000, you could still. 50,000, you're like. Hey, let's go a little bigger. What if it was 100? What if it was 200? I was in Tulum, Mexico, a year and a half ago. No. Year and 2 months ago. Natalie Goddard walks up to me and Rod, we're eating dinner. She says, I feel so blessed. Why is that, Natalie? It was the 15th of the month. Just got my check today. 200,000. Now, I have to admit, the last time I shared that story here in Ireland, I actually heard somebody go. They were like, and I just said, and I actually asked a question. I said, who here thinks that no one deserves that kind of money? And hands go up. And I said, depends on what your greater cause or higher purpose is in life. What if you feel passionate about ending the sex trade of young girls in Asia? What if you felt passionate about stopping cancer? What if you felt passionate about changing the orphanages in Eastern Europe, that they actually have people to hold babies instead of them sitting in cribs, self-soothing, rocking themselves back and forth because no one will ever hold them? What if you felt passionate about helping people that couldn't have kids find affordable ways to adopt? Courtney Moses is one of the diamonds on my team. She used to be a secretary of mine years ago, who's now has an enormous organization. But anyway, Courtney Moses, she could not have children, so she had to adopt three boys, beautiful family. And she adopted them in the middle of her poverty, went into debt, and able to have the children. And it was an extraordinary financial burden to her to make that happen. So she felt very passionate about the idea that if any mother who was infertile, that wanted to have kids but couldn't afford it, that she would pay for it. So she started a foundation, and today, as a diamond, is already paying for moms to have families that they can't afford. Now, how much money is too much for her? At what point do you go, nah, I don't think she should have that? Or do you want her to have as much as she'd like? When I mentioned $5,000 a month, did you all know where the money went, right? You all got that. When I was saying 100, where did your thoughts go? What was that?
Bali.
Bali?
You can buy Bali.
No, you can buy Bali, right? Okay, so how do you, yeah, right, so my point is this. When a person starts thinking in the 5,000, 10,000 range, generally most of their thoughts on what it would do for them focus on them. When you get up to the 25, 50, 100 or more, immediately you start thinking about others. The principle is this. Thinking small is selfish. Thinking large is selfless. Becoming successful in life is not selfish. Becoming successful is understanding who you are why you are here on earth and your greater cause and higher purpose. I have come to understand in my time on earth, in my life, every single person I meet has a divine mission and purpose. A reason that they're here. A reason they were born. I've also come to understand that that purpose has absolutely nothing to do with hauling buckets their entire life. That's not their purpose. And if we are open enough to receive, we can start to contemplate, how then can I use something like a pipeline? How can I create a pipeline so that I can be about the work that I'm supposed to be engaged in all of my life? Look, I could retire right now. I could be done forever. If I wanted to live on the beach the rest of my life, I can do it. And I could have my wife and kids there, and we could live on the beach every day. I never plan on retiring. Because I've come to understand that I can make a difference in this world. I can make a difference. I can change it for the better. I can make this world a better place in which to live. I have that ability. And so, for me, yes, I will retire from working for money. I will never retire from working for a great cause and a higher purpose. I will waste away my life lifting and liberating others. So, what is it that you would do? Ask the question. I give my people an assignment. Every time they mentor with me, I give them this assignment. I want you to think about what your long-term goal is with doTERRA. What do you want this to be on the 15th of every month? What is it? And it doesn't matter. It does not matter how small or how big you say. That doTERRA can actually make it happen. There is no limit onto what you can create with doTERRA. There's no limit. So if you knew what you wanted to accomplish, if you know what your long-term goal is, what is it? What do you want to make? And when you do, when you know what it is, I want you to journal. Can I give everybody this assignment? Will you do it? Take 1 week, 10 minutes every day for 1 week, and just journal the answer to this question. If my long-term goal was a reality today, how would it change my life? If on the 15th of the month you had 25,000 euro come to your account every 15th of every month, what would you do? How would it impact you? Journal about this. Let it come to you. Get real specific. You want a new home? What kind of new home? Where would it be? What would it look like? Do you want to be involved in charitable service? What kind of service? What would you do? What would you spend your time doing? Write that down. Create your new story. The second question I have people journal about is, what happens if I never reach this goal? Now, here's the deal. Journal about that until it depresses you enough that you don't have to journal about it anymore. All right? So if in the first day you journal and you say, what happens if I never reach this goal? It sucks. It's terrible. Not an option. Great. That's good. That's fine. But sometimes I've had that second question have a larger impact on people than the first question. So let's go and get started in the rest of this. I take a long time on that, but it's important. This is important. If you understand your greater cause and higher purpose, it'll give you the motivation to stop, to realize that hauling buckets for the rest of your life isn't an option. If you know why you're here, and it's bigger than your buckets allow, then go do something about it. Create a pipeline so you can go be about your greater cause. Okay, now,